Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Prime Minister Modi in Brasilia for a state visit to Brazil to hold bilateral talks with President Lula da Silva on key areas of cooperation. At the BRICS summit, Prime Minister addresses the session on environment, COP30 and global health. Urges for lead by example approach. Also says for India, climate justice is not an option, it's a moral duty. Rescuers race against time to find missing people as the catastrophic flooding in Texas claims over 100 lives, 21 still missing. And in sports, Wimbledon quarterfinals to kick off on Tuesday, defending champion Carlos Alcaraz and women's number one Aryna Sabalenka in action. After concluding a productive and successful BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now in the capital city of Brasilia on a state visit to Brazil. On his arrival, Prime Minister was warmly received by Jose Muzio, the Minister of Defense of Brazil, at the airport. The welcome was made delightfully musical by the traditional Brazilian samba reggae performance. In Brasilia, Prime Minister Modi will hold bilateral discussions with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on broadening of strategic partnership between the two nations in areas of mutual interest, including trade, defense, energy, space, technology, agriculture, health, and people-to-people linkages. DD India spoke exclusively to India's ambassador to Brazil, Dinesh Bhatia, on New Delhi's key priorities and the state of India-Brazil relations. Listen in.
As we continue our special coverage of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's five-nation visit, we are joined in by Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia, who is the ambassador of India to Brazil. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to DD India. How do you think, where is the trajectory of the relationship between both the leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Lula, considering this is Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit this time?
Well, between India and Brazil, as a matter of fact, Brazil was the first country in Latin America where we opened our embassy in 1948. Brazil and India have always been close countries. They have been part of Global South. And since 2006, our bilateral relations were elevated to strategic partnership.
As you said, this is going to be a very important, much awaited bilateral that is going to happen. But having said that, both countries are agriculture powerhouses. As you said, there's going to be a cooperation. What kind of cooperation can we look forward to in terms of both the countries coming together? Food security, much more sustainable farming practices?
Yes, as I said, there is a discussion between ICAR and Embrapa of Brazil for concluding an agreement on agricultural research. Besides that, let's keep in mind that while the two countries are superpowers in their own right for agriculture and agriculture export, we are not competing with each other. So our trade basket, export basket is different from export basket of Brazil. So in that way, there is also a complementarity because Brazil has certain produces which we need, and there are certain produces of India which they need, of course. And that is being discussed.
One last question. Biofuels, one of the important sectors, mining, one of the important sectors, and as you also said, defense cooperation. Can you elaborate a little more on these three ripe sectors of cooperation?
Mining is very important. Brazil has abundance of critical minerals and rare earth minerals, and where India is looking for partnerships, and we are going to further discuss this during this visit. This is one sector where I think the potential is humongous, and we need to explore all of that. Oil and gas is a sector where we already have investments in Brazil, and we can also use Brazil's expertise in offshore oil and gas for doing something in India. Then you coming to defense cooperation, there is a discussion, and our public and private sector companies are talking about collaborations at the manufacturing level, at the export and import level. A lot of discussion is going on.
So here, as global attention shifts to Brazil with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the BRICS summit, as well as for this landmark bilateral that is going to happen between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Lula, we'll bring to you all the important updates, insights and exclusives from Brazil only for DD India. With camera person Jai Shankar and Piyush, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
And later, Prime Minister Modi was given a grand traditional welcome in Brasilia. Acharya Jonas Massetti and his associates recited the Shiv Tandav Stotram while the indigenous people of Brazil's Amazon rainforest chanted local mantras. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister said, and I quote, "The Indian community accorded a memorable welcome, once again highlighting how passionate our diaspora is and how connected they remain with their roots." A story that spans continents and cultures, a royal gift that changed the course of dairy farming across the country. DD India's Meghna Dev traces the legacy of Krishna the Bull that bridged two nations, India and Brazil. We'll take a look at this.
Initiative connects Bhavnagar in Gujarat to the distant land of Brazil. The Gir bull named Krishna was given to Brazil by the then Maharaja of Bhavnagar as a gift, which sowed seeds of white revolution, of dairy revolution in Latin America. What began as a royal gift in 1960 has now blossomed into a global partnership. In the land of Bhavnagar, Gujarat, a bull named Krishna embarked on a journey beyond borders 65 years ago. Gifted to Brazil in 1960 by the Maharaja of Bhavnagar to Celson Garcia Cid, a cattle baron, this bull was not just an animal but a symbol of India's cultural ethos. The bull belonging to the Gir breed is known for its resilience and spiritual significance, especially in the Vaishnavite tradition where cows are considered companions of Lord Krishna.
India gifted Gir and Kankrej, two breeds of cows, to Brazil, and since then Brazil has done tremendous development, tremendous scientific development to crossbreed and better these cows to produce more milk, and that is how we are talking about white revolution in Brazil.
It was the Maharaja of Bhavnagar, Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji Gohil, who was very kind to gift the Gir cattle, precisely a Gir bull, to the Brazilian gentleman we very fondly remember as Celso Garcia Cid. And it is this relation that has helped us maintain a very, very good relationship with the people of Brazil till today. One gift from Bhavnagar has helped Brazil in a tremendous way in terms of the income that they've made from the dairy and how well they've utilized it.
Brazil has been a consistent admirer of Indian indigenous cattle breeds. Over the years, the country has developed one of the largest Gir cattle populations outside India, originally imported from Gujarat. These cows now play a key role in Brazil's dairy industry.
My grandfather bought some cows from Maharaja and very good bulls too. And he brought Krishna to Brazil, but unfortunately Krishna died in 1961. But he left a very good son called Krishna Sakina. Now we have thousands of descendants of Krishna Sakina. We thank India for this magnificent gift.
From Bhavnagar to Brazil, this was the journey of a bull named Krishna. The gesture was more than diplomacy. It's a living emblem of India's philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
Earlier in Rio de Janeiro, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a session on environment, COP30 and global health at the BRICS summit. In his intervention, the Prime Minister stressed on strengthening shared efforts to make the planet healthier. Prime Minister noted that for India, climate change and environmental protection have always been subjects of topmost priority. This has also been a part of our ancient culture. For India, climate change is not merely an issue of energy, it is about maintaining balance between life and nature. India is driven by the spirit of people, planet and progress. India has launched numerous initiatives like Mission Life for the Lifestyle for Environment, Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, which means planting a tree in the name of the mother, International Solar Alliance, the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, the Green Hydrogen Mission, the Global Biofuels Alliance, the International Big Cats Alliance. Despite being the world's fastest growing major economy, India was the first country to achieve its Paris commitments ahead of schedule. For India, climate change is not just an option, it's a moral duty. India believes that without technology transfer and affordable financing for countries in need, climate action will remain confined merely to climate talks. The health of people and planet is interconnected. COVID-19 pandemic taught us that viruses do not arrive with visas, nor are solutions chosen based on passports. Hence, we have to strengthen shared efforts to make our planet healthier. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to visit Namibia on the 9th of July, a landmark moment in India's Africa outreach. This is the third ever prime ministerial visit taking place after a gap of 27 years. High Commissioner of Namibia, Rahul Srivastava, spoke with DD India about the depth of India-Namibia ties, from development cooperation to trade and great opportunities in mining of critical minerals and diamonds.
Namibia, we all know that is rich in critical minerals, rare earths, copper, cobalt, graphite, tantalum, lithium, uranium, and all these things are of India's interest. What do you think when it comes to cooperation between both the countries? How Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, will it give an impetus to cooperation in rare earths and critical minerals as well?
Yes, these are important areas that would be discussed during Prime Minister's meeting. Critical minerals is one of them, because we do have a joint working group on minerals and geology that most likely will meet after the Prime Minister's visit. So hopefully in the next couple of years we should see some of our big PSUs, and they have shown a lot of interest. After the visit they should be able to have some investment in Namibia.
Defense ties are concerned between both the countries, they are flourishing with each passing year, with each passing day, should I say. Naval ships from India, they keep having a goodwill visits to the Namibian ports, and personnel from Indian Army and Indian Air Force are also deployed here to train defense personnel of Namibia. So how are the defense ties as of now, and how are they likely to be in the future?
Yes, defense relations are good, but there is scope for improving that. Yeah. And Prime Minister's visit will surely facilitate that, because Namibia right now is looking for import of defense equipment from India. They are especially interested in UAVs, then light helicopters, maritime equipment for training.
Namibia also has 2 Chetak and 2 Cheetah helicopters by India?
Yes, and we have 4 officials from the Indian Air Force who provide training to Namibians.
India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Pavitra Margarita, is in Cambodia for a visit aimed at strengthening bilateral ties. On Tuesday, the minister visited the Royal Palace of Cambodia and said he expressed admiration for the mural paintings depicting Ramayana, a powerful reminder of enduring cultural and historical ties between India and Cambodia. He also welcomed the initiative of the Archaeological Survey of India to take up restoration and conservation works of these magnificent murals. Thereafter, the minister will visit Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia on the from the 10th to the 12th of July, 10th to the 11th of July, to participate in the foreign ministers' meeting under the ASEAN framework in the format of the ASEAN India East Asia Summit and the ASEAN Regional Forum. Still to come up on this edition of DD India Live, French President Emmanuel Macron arrives in Britain for the first state visit by a European leader since Brexit.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Amritpal Singh. The US President Donald Trump has reignited his trade war by threatening more than a dozen countries with higher tariffs on Monday. The US President renewed 25% tax on products entering the country from Japan and South Korea and shared a batch of other letters to world leaders warning of levies from the 1st of August. Countries including Indonesia, Bangladesh, Thailand, South Africa and Malaysia was slapped with duties ranging from 25% to 40%. Trump warned of further escalation if there was retaliation against the levies.
The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people.
And let's now take a look at how much tariff will be levied on what country. Trump's tariffs would apply to Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Kazakhstan and Tunisia, all subject to the lowest rate of 25%. South Africa and Bosnia and Herzegovina are facing a 30% tariff rate. Indonesia would be subject to a 32% rate. Serbia and Bangladesh 35% and a 36% rate on goods from Cambodia and Thailand. While the steepest tariffs would be levied on Laos and Myanmar, with both facing duties of 40% each. All 14 countries, many of which have highly export-reliant economies, had previously been subject to baseline tariff of 10%. US President Donald Trump has given the EU 3 more weeks to negotiate a trade deal. It looked like good news on the surface, but it seems there are problems besides unrealistic timelines. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle. He joins me from Berlin. Hi Lars, what are you hearing from Brussels?
Thanks for having me. Yes, indeed, the more we're hearing from Washington and from Brussels, the more I get the feeling that unrealistic timelines are not the problem at all. Look, it has always been clear that the EU and the US wouldn't be able to negotiate a comprehensible trade agreement within such a short time. As a matter of fact, no trading partner of the US can negotiate a reasonable agreement in just a few weeks. And those who have signed a deal, I'm looking at Britain here, for example, they've basically used the old deal they had, made a few updates. It was mostly a big show put on to placate Donald Trump. Now, let's not waste any more time on Trump rushing to get deals. The much bigger problem is the European Union appears torn over what kind of a deal they actually want to have with the United States. Germany and Italy are the two EU member states that are in fact making the case for quickly signing a deal. No wonder. Their economies heavily rely on exports to the US and they fear higher tariffs. But then there's France and Denmark, for example, who are warning that the EU might be about to sell out to the US and likely get to regret that later.
And what is the alternative for Brussels?
Well, mainly the alternative is to keep negotiating and to show the U.S. that a healthy trade partnership is beneficial to both sides. Now, obviously, that's not an argument that Donald Trump might easily understand. He has often thrown tariffs around. He has shown often enough that he doesn't understand trade as a larger concept. But the numbers are clear. If the EU would just accept higher tariffs on some goods, in the interest of not caving to Trump, then certain goods would become more expensive in the US. Consumers or companies over there would suffer. And eventually there might be enough pressure on Trump from within to stand down. Now, will that happen? That's unclear, of course. But the EU member states definitely have to make sure they keep fighting as one and not go after their particular interests. After all, Trump has made sure to threaten tariffs on products from all countries. Belgian chocolate, there's milk from Ireland, olive oil from Spain. So it should be easy for Brussels to understand we are all in this together and should not allow to be played against each other.
Okay. So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. But Lars Holter, thank you very much for joining us for the moment. The United Nations Trade Agency Executive Director Pamela Cook-Hamilton said that Trump administration's decision to extend the negotiating deadline for tariff rates is prolonging uncertainty and instability for countries. She further said that uncertainty and combined with deep cuts in development aid had created a dual shock for developing countries.
This move actually extends the period of uncertainty, undermining long-term investment and business contracts and creating further uncertainty and instability. Economic uncertainty has real-world consequences, as we all know, on countries and on sectors. Adding to the uncertainty created by the tariffs and related trade measures, we're simultaneously seeing deep cuts in development aid, creating a dual shock for developing countries in the world of trade and aid.
French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Britain on Tuesday for the first state visit by a European leader since Brexit. The trip aimed at celebrating the return of closer political ties between the countries. French President and his wife Brigitte were welcomed by Prince William and Princess Kate at the Royal Air Force Base on the outskirts of London. While Macron's three-day visit is filled with meetings about economic issues and foreign affairs, the first day of the visit is largely focused on pageantry and heavy in symbolism. The talks this week will focus on a range of issues, including how to stop people smuggling and improving economic and defense ties. The death toll from the catastrophic flooding in Texas rose to more than 100 on Monday as rescuers continued their grim search for people swept away by torrents of water. At least 27 of the victims were girls and counselors caught up at the summer camp when floodwaters surged through the area on the 4th of July weekend, leaving little time to escape. The camp, located along a river, was overwhelmed in minutes. Forecasters warned that more rain could trigger additional flooding, with already saturated ground hampering recovery efforts. President Trump is planning to visit Texas on Friday, the White House said, as it slammed critics claiming his cuts to weather agencies had weakened the warning systems. On to some sports news now. Defending champion Carlos Alcaraz and women's number one Arna Sabalenka headlined the first day of the quarterfinals on Tuesday. The Spaniard set up a quarterfinal clash against Britain's Cameron Norrie. In the women's draw, Arina Sabalenka chases a fourth Grand Slam title but a first Wimbledon crown. The top seed, who has never been past the semi-finals at the tournament, takes on Laura Siegemund for the semi-finals berth. In another battle, of 34-year-old Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova has a tough task against 13th-seed Amanda Anisimova. Robotics researchers at Stanford University are developing a new way to explore the world's oceans. A remote-controlled humanoid robot that can transmit the sense of touch to researchers sitting vast distances away, named Ocean 1K, is a robot with an advanced version of Ocean 1, which in 2016 dove 100 meters into the Mediterranean to explore a shipwreck from 1664. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR codes that you see on your screen to download. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh from our entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India Live.